Hey everybody, this is Mark Harvey coming back to you with Beyond Profit, a global perspective. And this time we're going to talk about emotional intelligence, right? We've been talking about leadership lately, and emotional intelligence is a really important thing when it comes to leadership. I mean, granted, there's a lot of things that leaders have to do as far as imposing structure, as far as accomplishing tasks, but relationships are important too. And so understanding people, understanding sort of being able to read the room, or also understanding yourself, what your personality is like, and how that interacts with other people, those things are really important. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's do this. As usual, I want to remind everybody to please like, share, subscribe. If these videos are things that you think are useful to you or helpful to you, please spread the good news as far as the kinds of things we're doing here at this channel. Happy to share my knowledge. And likewise, if you're interested in coming and studying with me here at the University of St. Mary, I would absolutely love to have you as part of our MBA program. Let's talk about the 5 elements of emotional intelligence, right? First, self-awareness, then self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, I just want to talk briefly about self-awareness. Now, self-awareness maybe is kind of obvious, but who knows? I mean, a lot of times we go through life really not being aware of some of the things that we do to sometimes offend other people. And so in order to be a good leader and to achieve that emotional intelligence, you need to become more aware of who you are and what your tendencies are. We have a tendency to be very self-centered. We look at ourselves and we just assume we're right about everything all the time. And that, our personality is what it is, and if somebody else doesn't like it, then it's their problem. I mean, I know not everybody's like that, but that's sort of the way we're hardwired in our brain. Our psychology, it's the way that we sort of interpret the world. And so what I would recommend is that in order to achieve a higher level of self-awareness, that you get into some personality tests, something that is going to more objectively assess what your strengths are, what your opportunities for growth are, and then be able to compare that to other people. Because a lot of times the kinds of things that you think are annoying about other people may be their strengths, and you just aren't completely aware of it. And likewise, other people might see you that way too. And so knowing sort of what your strengths are and how you might rub people the wrong way occasionally, those are steps towards self-awareness, and those are good tools. I would also add that I think it would be a good idea for you maybe to speak to other people, good trusted friends who might tell you, like, look, this is where you sometimes go too far. These are some things that you're really good at. Like, if you're worried that maybe you don't have a very accurate picture of who you are, maybe it's worth going down that road. Now, I'm not going to say a whole lot more about personality tests at this point. There are some really good ones out there. I think the DISC test is a really good one. There are different versions of Myers-Briggs Jungian style tests, and I recommend those. I think those are great. But I also would say it's just talking about that. There's too much probably than what I can get into a single video into really making this effective. And so just let's leave it at you need to improve your self-awareness, right? That is a key aspect of emotional intelligence. And we'll do another video another time where we talk a little bit more about personality tests and what those effects might be on you. Another element of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. So what is it that you are regulating when you're thinking about regulating yourself? Well, have a look at this emotional chart, right? There are many experts who suggest that most emotions can be put into 4 quadrants. You have mad, sad, glad, and scared. And sure, we could probably really overanalyze this thing and come up with some things that maybe aren't a perfect fit into one of those 4 quadrants, but chances are it probably fits pretty well, right? I mean, mad can have a range from I'm just sort of annoyed to I am furious and I've lost my temper, right? I mean, sad could be anywhere from like I'm feeling a little bit down to like I am terminally depressed. Scared can be anything from like being a little bit nervous to being absolutely terrified. And of course, glad could be just like, hey, I'm in a good mood, as opposed to like, I am so excited, I'm about to see that concert act. Woohoo! This is going to be great. So all of these things have different ranges of emotion, but they fit into one of those four quadrants. And so the question with self-awareness is, to what extent are you able to control those emotions? Now, I'm going to give you this caveat. When it comes to emotions, it's not healthy to shove everything into a tiny box and store it in the back of your brain and hope that it never explodes at some point, right? You need to find healthy ways to express yourself emotionally around safe people who can accept you and understand you and love you for who you are. So it's really important that you find ways to express yourself emotionally. But keep in mind that not all emotions should be let out all the time. I mean, even with the people who are super close to you, right? I mean, if you want to have positive relationships with children or a spouse, you need to figure out how it is that you can get your emotions out. And it may mean sort of holding back on what your natural inclinations are in order to build a trusting relationship with other people. And that is especially true in the workplace as well. People who you don't know as well, who may have a lot less patience and sympathy for you. And so figuring out, like, how am I going to limit that mad when that mad comes on? Or how can I prevent myself from bringing everybody down because I'm having a bad day? Well, that's really what we mean when we're translating self-awareness into self-regulation. In order to self-regulate, you need to be self-aware of the kinds of things that trigger certain emotions. So, first of all, what are your triggers? I mean, ask yourself that question. In what situations are you going to explode and get angry? I mean, for me, it's like, hey, my computer's not working. My car is not working. Like stuff that just doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, those things are very likely to get me on edge. And if there's something that's going to make me explode or put me in a bad mood, it's very likely to be one of those kinds of things. Next thing you know, my workmate Joe walks in the door and I'm in a bad mood, and then my bad mood is translating to Joe. Maybe I'm being snappy or short or impatient, right? So understanding, first of all, what that trigger is. Second, figuring out then how those feelings are manifested, right? Am I going to be short with somebody? Am I going to want to break something because I lose my temper or whatever, right? How extreme are those things that you're feeling? And then trying to scale that back and figure out, okay, so what is an appropriate expression for a workplace in such a way that my emotions can be either controlled or constructive as opposed to being destructive, distracting, and bad for the team, right? Then it comes down to number 3. How do you manage your emotions? And I think that is a really personal question, right? Do you need to take breaks at times? Do you need to take deep breaths? Do you need to read a book or relax or whatever? There's all sorts of ways maybe that you can learn how to manage your emotions. And so doing those 3 things are really important. Now, it's important to mention also that there's a difference between emotions and action, right? Like, I can feel a certain way, but I do not have to necessarily act on those emotions. And that key difference is important as far as getting along with other people in your team environment. Now let's talk about motivation. Now, there's a lot that I can say about how people are motivated. In fact, that is a whole other subject. Again, it's a whole other video. I'll have to work on that, put that one up as well. But as far as emotional intelligence, I think the important thing is for you to remember that you should be in touch with what motivates you. Like we're not talking about other people. We're talking about you. And understanding sort of what your why is, right? That's the way I like to say it. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is your mission? Where are you going in life? And figuring that out is a really great way to get people to look at you as more positive and to be able to inspire and motivate other people as well. People who are motivated are on a drive to try to improve and achieve. They set high standards for themselves. They work consistently toward their goals. They take initiative. They are ready to act on opportunities. And a lot of it really is about optimism and resilience, right? This idea that you can go and achieve things and maybe you're going to take people with you, right? It's that positive attitude that can really sometimes bring people behind you. Then there's the other side of the equation, right? And that is empathy, right? Your feelings for other people. Can you put yourself in someone else's shoes and see how they feel, right? Can you adjust to a situation? Can you respond to others' feelings even if you don't agree with them all the time? Can you respect people of different backgrounds? Can you accept diversity? Can you be inclusive and accepting of others? And then there's social skills. How tuned in are you to the people around you? To be able to read a room, to be able to understand both verbal and nonverbal cues as to whether or not how they're responding to you, right? Can you talk to somebody and know whether or not you've kind of outstayed your welcome and maybe you should cut it off and walk away? Or are you one of these people where you're just like, oh, no, you're so excited about what you have to say that you're not really tuned into that other person and how they may be responding to you, right? Can you look at somebody and if they get that sort of like glazed over look or whatever, you're like, okay, well, I need to change it up, or I need to adjust it, or I need to cut it short, right? These are the kinds of skills that also are important as far as being empathic, trying to really feel what that other person is feeling and then adjust to that situation. Now, why do we care about emotional intelligence? If the answer isn't obvious to you at this point, that it might allow you to relate better to people, I will give you some specific reasons, right? First of all, it benefits organizations. Studies increase that there's increased productivity, decreased absenteeism, decreased worker compensation grievances, just a more positive corporate culture when more people are in touch with their emotional intelligence. It is also one of the building blocks in transforming groups and organizations, which is consistent with transformational leadership theory. Again, it's a little bit more than what we want to get into today as far as what that is, but suffice it to say, a transformational leadership approach assumes that you, or someone anyway, with your social skills can inspire people to transform an organization in a positive way. And so that isn't everything as far as transformational leadership goes, but emotional intelligence is certainly very important to that aspect. So, emotional intelligence, there is a lot to unpack there, right? We've got self-awareness, we've got self-regulation, right? Not just the ability to know oneself, but also the ability to control oneself, right? You've got to understand your motivation, what gets you through the day, what gets you through your life. Having empathy for others, and of course social skills, just being able to sort of read other people and do your best to try to make the best of any social situation. So hopefully you'll find some of this information very useful as you proceed on your leadership journey. I wish you the best of luck. Until next time, I'll see you later.